Hi, welcome. Welcome to this week's Cool Chiefs episode. And I have to tell you, I am so excited about today's topic because I recently learned, thanks to my conversations with Patricia, that dementia and aging, cognitive aging disabilities in the brain are 70% related to lifestyle. And I know personally, having both of my parents ending their lives with Alzheimer's, that has been weighing heavily on me for a really long time. And I'm very excited to have Patricia here today. She is a gerontologist, and we will be talking about the 6 steps on how to maintain cognitive ability and maintain a healthy brain, which I can barely stand myself. I'm so excited. But before that, in case you haven't seen one of these episodes before, my name is Jack Perez, and I am the CEO and the founder of Kuel Life. Kuel Life is spelled with a K. It's spelled all cattywampus, Kuellife. It is definitely a play on the word cool, because I think that we should be able to continue living cool lives in the second half. And it is an online platform and a curated shopping experience for women in midlife. All of the media, all of the content is completely relevant to us women in midlife. So if you haven't had a chance to go out to Kuel Life, go check out the articles, go read the content. It will speak to you, I promise. So I want to get into the meat of what we're going to talk about today. But first, Patricia, would you do me the favor and the honor of introducing yourself to the Kuel Life community? I know I said you were a gerontologist, but I would love for them to know a little bit of your background,
Okay.
how you became one, and just give us the scoop on you.
Well, thank you very much, Jack, for having me on today. I am beyond happy about this. My name is Patricia Faust, and I am a gerontologist. I specialize in the study of brain aging and brain health. That was the part of gerontology I chose to go with. The reason I did that is I went back to grad school when I was around 50, but I went back to study more about dementia. And I was really upset by the way they treated the behaviors. So I became a clinical aromatherapist to work with the behaviors of dementia. And then I did a deep dive into all the new brain health stuff was starting to come out, and I just fell in love with the brain. And so now I talk a lot about aging brain and how to prevent Alzheimer's. And so it's a thrill to me to be able to do that.
Well, lay it on me, sister, because like I said earlier, I have a personal vested interest, and I know a lot of women in this age group worry about this. So what do we do? What do we do
Well,
to
you
prevent?
are you, you are absolutely right that a lot of people worry about this. More people are afraid of getting Alzheimer's than of getting cancer. And so it's at the top of the list here. I participated in the Walk to End Alzheimer's on Saturday, and it's the fight to find the first survivor. And all the big organizations, Alzheimer's Association and UP, are saying that lifestyle is the way to prevent Alzheimer's disease. So technically, any dementia, including Alzheimer's, is 70% risk due to lifestyle indicators. The other 30% are genetic and environment. So you can have a little bit of these other things in there, but the biggest risk factor is the type of lifestyle that you lead.
So
Now,
what I hear when you say that, though, to me, that's good news, because then you can actually, you're not necessarily victimized. You don't have to be a victim to your
exactly,
circumstance. You can actually do something about it.
exactly. And I hope I give that message of empowerment to anyone that I talk to, because we actually have far more control over our brain than was ever believed. And so we have the ability to prevent Alzheimer's.
So I know we only have 20 minutes, but don't
Okay.
worry. I don't want anyone to stress, because I know stress is one of those indicators, but
Yes, it
I
is.
don't want
Yeah.
anyone to stress, because Patricia's going to go through the 6 steps at a high level, but we have put together a downloadable ebook for you that will detail out in more specifics each step and what actions you can take under those categories, so that you can put an action plan into place
Exactly.
for yourself. So what are the 6 areas, Patricia?
Every time I go through this, I say, well, this one's the most important. And so by the time you get to the 6th one, I've said all of them are the most important. So the message is that you need to do all of these.
Okay.
The first one is physical exercise. And this has had a lot of research to back up what they tell us about it. Our brain is able to grow new brain cells. This was something, it's called neurogenesis, and this is something that was not even known up until about 20 years ago. We thought that when we started losing brain cells at about age 25, that was it. We were just going to go on that downward slope till we died. But as it turns out, the parts of our brain that control learning and memory and thinking and decision making lose cells, but we can replace those cells by doing exercise, actually. So when we exercise, we release a hormone in the brain called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
Okay.
And it acts as a little fertilizer on the neuron-brain stem cells to help bud new little brain cells.
Okay.
And then it protects them as they grow to adult, because the brain is always under attack. It's very vulnerable to free radical damage, and this BDNF protects those cells. The only way that you can release BDNF is through exercise.
Okay.
The other thing that exercise does is it makes our heart pump faster. Our prefrontal cortex, which is the area that does all our thinking and decision making and planning, is an energy cannibal. Yet our brain doesn't have its own energy source. So it is dependent on blood, oxygen, and carbs from each and every heartbeat. 25% of blood, oxygen, and carbs from each and every heartbeat are pushed to the brain, to the prefrontal cortex, for the energy it needs to do all of the executive function duties that it does for us to think.
Great.
If we don't move, we don't get that energy, and our brain really declines. Brain function really declines.
And you'll have some details on what kind of exercise and how long,
yes,
and how often. That's wonderful.
Yes.
So ladies, we have to move. And as you said earlier, there's 6 of them. So we're trying to get through them quickly, but don't stress. You'll have the downloadable.
Right.
So
right.
Exercise. And then what's number 2, Patricia?
Number 2 is challenge. We need to mentally stimulate our brain.
Okay.
And the other thing that we have to replace are all the synaptic connections, the connections that go from cell to cell and has our brain communicate to each other. Now, as we're getting older, we lose those connections as well as those cells. So when we challenge our brain, we're using those new little brain cells that we just made, and we're engaging other brain cells to function at a high level.
Okay.
So mental challenge can be anything from brain games, and that's what everybody thinks, but really you want it to be more of a environment issue where you're traveling, or you're trying something new that you've never done before, trying a new recipe, something that you're fumbling around about, because your brain has to work so hard in order to learn it.
So something that is anti-muscle memory, meaning you really having to use your frontal lobe to engage.
Yes.
Your reptilian brain cannot help you with that pace.
Exactly. So once that, whatever you're doing, that hobby or cooking, once that doesn't require you to fumble around and learn it, then it's made a habit. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
all right. So what's number 3? So what's number
3 is nutrition. We have to nourish ourselves. Our brain is very specific about what it needs for nourishment. So now,
will you have details in the about what to eat, like what sort of what nourishment is important for the brain?
It's really complicated issue. The Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet have been put together to become the MIND diet, and that's the brain diet, and that'll all be.
I'm not surprised to hear that, because haven't they done studies at some of the longest living people? And the most like cognitive functional people are the individuals that live in areas where that's the commonplace diet, right?
Yes. So those are the blue zones.
Yeah.
So so it's a complicated subject, so that's better to be able to read and take notes and, have a little food chart and stuff like that.
I was just going to make a pun. That way they can digest it at their own.
That's a good one. And then the next one is socialization, which when I first learned it, sort of baffled me. But what happens is when you connect with other people, we're hardwired to connect, by the way. We have these prehistoric ancestor brains in our head, the reptilian brains. And so some of the things that we have to do, because that's the brain we have, and one of them is to connect with other people to survive. This actually increases our cognitive function. This increases our cognitive function more than any of the other lifestyle methods I'm talking about.
It also increases your age, your lifespan, from what I've read.
Yes.
I have, okay, I'm going to be honest. I'm a TED Talk junkie. And
Yes.
I've seen a TED Talk, and it's real if it's on the TED Talk, that one of the indicators of living, the longest lifespan is socialization, is making real human connection.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Then the next one is sleep. And this one sort of went to the top of my list because our brain is so busy when we're sleeping.
Yeah.
What's happening is that we, the hippocampus, which is deep brain, is the center of learning and memory. And all the signals that have come in during the day for us to encode into memory are resting in the hippocampus, waiting to be encoded. So during the night, while our rest of our brain, our conscious brain, isn't functioning, the hippocampus gets into its act, and it looks around the brain to see if there's any signals similar to the ones you brought in during the day. And if it finds it throughout the whole brain, it will consolidate those memories. So what happens, the older you get, the more complex your memory becomes. It's not exactly the same. None of your memories are exactly the same as they were when you remember them. But they're just general, as they become stronger because you've added more to it, but they're not exactly the same. The other thing that happens when you're sleeping is we have a whole different circulatory system in our brain. That's the lymphatic system, and it has cerebral spinal fluid flowing through it. And it actually washes and cleans our brain up. All of the protein, cell debris, toxins are cleaned out of our brain while we're sleeping. And so if you don't get good sleep, all that can become plaque and sticky and really can do some damage to your brain when you don't sleep. So sleep is critical.
So when I don't sleep and I wake up and I'm not functioning. I mean, I can just feel cognitively impaired. And, caffeine might help a little bit, but just, I can just tell I'm not on all six cylinders.
Right.
And I'm now understanding that it's because I didn't allow my brain the time to, I don't know, be as busy as it needed to be to get all that stuff done, right? So that whole foggy brain thing is for real.
Yes. Yeah, very real, very real. This also explains why when you're in school, they told you to get a good night's sleep before you take an exam, because you had to encode all that information. And so
I think, did we get through all six?
No, we still have stress.
Oh, right. Which is the one I let off with because I was worried about.
Yeah. And the stress one is really difficult. It's a big it's a big part of the lifestyle, one that probably everybody, I never speak when somebody says that they don't have any stress. Everybody raises their hands when I ask if they have stress in their life. So it's very complicated. But in the end point is that cortisol is a stress hormone, and it will shrink your brain. And so you need to know how the brain works with stress. This is another hardwired part of our brain. We are hardwired to sense threat, and we go into acute stress response immediately before we're even aware of it. And then it gets more difficult.
But is what is important, I mean, you can't avoid stress. So it has to be the way you deal with it or the way you handle it.
Well, it definitely is, and you have to start looking at things differently. We've got a prehistoric brain in these 24/7 stressful times, so it's shooting off on its own, and we have to know how to do that. Like when we know it triggers us, we have to take a step back, take 3 deep breaths, and that'll break the stress response.
Oh yeah, well, I learned that. That's how my son saw his 17th birthday. He would never have survived 17 years if I did not learn a long time ago to stop and take 3 deep breaths before I parented, because I would not have no kid.
Right.
Okay, so we're running out of time, Patricia. So I want to recap very quickly. There were 6 high-level steps. The great news is that we can control them, so we're not victimized. Yes. So we can maintain our cognitive health and our brain health. And it was diet, it was exercise, it was sleep, it was stress. Oh boy.
Connecting.
And
challenging your brain.
Yeah. So, ladies, I will put the link for the downloadable ebook, which goes into all those 6 steps with more detail so that you can read it at your leisure and figure out how to incorporate take some action, change some of the ways that you might be already doing all this stuff and then you're golden. But in case you're not, you can make some adjustments. The other great news is that Patricia is going to be joining Kuel Life on a more regular basis, which she will be giving us monthly, at least monthly, if not twice a month, some new piece of advice or a new action or a tip on how we can handle our aging and be good to our aging brain so that we can maintain the health, so we can be, sharp all the way to the end, because we want to live our second life as cool and as bright colored as we live the first half. And we can, if we take some steps. And Patricia is our gold mine on things that we can do. I'm so excited. So all of that information will be in either the synopsis or in the comments. And also, if you have any other questions regarding brain health or aging, please put them in the comments. I am happy to have Patricia come back for another episode, or she can address them, in her monthly, I don't know what we're going to do yet. See, we're just making stuff as we're going. I don't know if it's going to be video or a blog. We don't know. So you'll have to stay tuned. But for now, download the ebook. Oh, just full disclosure, when you download the ebook, we will put you on our respective email lists. So you will be able to get all the information from Kuel Life on a regular basis, as well as from, and I forgot the name of your website. It's Boomer Brain?
My Boomer Brain.
My Boomer Brain. And so also, if you haven't checked out Patricia's website, it's myboomerbrain.com. I highly suggest you go out there as well, because she's got a lot of content already. But I think that's it. Patricia, thank you so much for your time today. And I'm so excited to welcome you to the Kuel Life. And thank you for the good news. I'm so happy.
Great. I hope I've inspired everyone to empower themselves to, change their brain.
Yes, absolutely. Well, until the next time, my friend.